Maido. Hi there, Japan fans. Today, we're going to talk about credibility. Present, Master Shimasho. This is the 8th year of the Presentation Japan series podcast, and we are beaming around the world to you from sunny Minato-ku in Tokyo. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, Dale Carnegie Tokyo franchise owner, the president of Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training, and the 3-time best-selling author of Japan Sales Mastery, which is Zaegyo in Japanese, Japan Business Mastery, and Japan Presentations Mastery, or in Japanese, Anata Present no Tachijin. My other books include Stop Wasting Money on Training, which in Japanese is Training de Okane o Muda ni Suru no wa Yamimashou. And my just released new book is Japan Leadership Mastery, and all are available on Amazon. Through this podcast, I want to help you become a better speaker to be 1, clear, 2, confident, 3, persuasive, 4, highly influential with those around you. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with your family, friends, and colleagues. We are not being sponsored by Libsyn, but we value your privacy, which is why we have our podcast hosted by Libsyn. Unlike many other hosting organizations, Libsyn have a strict policy that does not allow access to your private information by anyone. Here is our daily podcast lineup on Apple Podcasts. Mondays, the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show podcast. Tuesday, the Presentations Japan series, and every second Tuesday, the Business Tachijin no Oshie show. Wednesdays, the Sales Japan series. Thursdays, the Leadership Japan series, and every second Thursday, the Business Pro Podcast show. Fridays, the Japan Business Mastery Show podcast, and Saturdays, Japan's top business interviews. Now, this is episode number 394, and today we are going to bring a speech I gave to the Tokyo Digital Marketers Meetup Group on how to build credibility before you meet the client. Now, this was a live talk, and I'm going to provide this as a reference on public speaking and how to design and how to deliver a public speech. The premise of the theme tonight is how do we position ourselves for the client before we even meet the client? Because what's happened with social media is people will know they're going to meet you and they'll check you out. That wasn't possible before, but it's certainly possible now. So what do we do to put ourselves in the best light and the best position before we even meet the buyer or the client? And that's what I'm going to look at tonight. So a little bit about Dale Carnegie. We're a very well-established company, 112 years old, out of New York, 61 years in Japan. We have 200 offices around the world. We're quite well known. This is our location. So wherever you're coming from, probably we're there. 8 million graduates, 100,000 in Japan. Warren Buffett is a graduate. Chuck Norris, one of my favorites, another one. And actually the current president of Shiseido, Uotani-san, is also a graduate. These books are very well known: How to Win Friends and Influence People, Hito Wo Ugokasu, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Michi Wa Hirakeru, are very well-known books. They sell well. Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is consistently in the top 10 business books in every language, every year around the world. In the publishing industry, they say there are 2 massive long sellers. One is the Bible, and the second one is Dale Carnegie's book, which is just incredible, but it's true. So it does very, very well. So my theme here is, in business, know, like, and trust are some of the fundamentals. People have to know you to do business with you. That's important. They have to like you, generally speaking. And we will do business with people we don't like, but it's not our preference. And they have to trust us. Now, I'm not going to deal with like and trust tonight. That's going to be too much, but I'll deal particularly with the get to know part, and we'll look at that. So how do I build credibility before I meet the buyer. How do I establish that remotely is what we're going to be looking at. So in 2010, I was scared of social media. I wasn't on any social media at all. And these are the themes that I was worried about. It was an unknown thing to me. Didn't understand it. I thought, oh, my identity will be stolen. They're going to hack my credit card. Trolls are going to hammer me if I post something. And I was scared of it. So at that time, though, most social media was fairly limited. LinkedIn was the longest running, but that was really a recruiting site, actually, at that time. It was for people posting their resumes, basically. Facebook, yes, mainly in America. Twitter, only 4 years old by that time, and then Instagram, only 1 year old. So it was all very new, and I was scared of it. Then something happened. I met this gentleman, Jeffrey Gittimore. He's American. He's a very famous author on sales. He's also a very interesting character. And he attended our Dale Carnegie International Convention held in San Diego, which, by the way, is a beautiful, beautiful place. I must say, I was impressed by San Diego. And he basically said to the convention delegates, all Dale Carnegie people, how many people are on Twitter? Nobody was on Twitter. Trust me, nobody. At that stage, he had 30,000 followers on Twitter at that stage. And basically he said to us, you are all idiots. He didn't say that directly, but that was the message. You should get onto social media. And I thought, well, okay, he's probably right. I should check this out. So that's where I started. And I also got into a thing called content marketing. I'd never heard of this expression, content marketing, before. And there was a very good podcast with Joe Paluzzi and Robert Rose called This Old Marketing, which was really pioneering and promoting the whole concept of content marketing. And I started listening to these guys and started learning about what is content marketing, which was a revolutionary idea at the time, that you put your best stuff out there for nothing. At that time, people are protecting their IP, they're hiding their details, their data. But he's saying, no, you put it out there. That was not a typical idea at that time. So I was studying that. And then today, I have 27,680 followers on LinkedIn. I have 3,383 articles, blogs, published on LinkedIn. Facebook, I have 4,200 friends. I'm not really big into Facebook, to be honest. Instagram, I have 536 followers. I only started Instagram really recently. Twitter, I don't have many followers on Twitter. I've never quite come to grips with Twitter myself. So I post on it, but I never look at it, basically.
It's called X.
As mentioned by Jeff, we started YouTube in 2013. And we call it Tokyo, Japan, Dale Carnegie TV. Now we have 1,920 subscribers, and it's taken a long time to get over 1,000 and get close to 2,000. Very hard work. And we have 2,500 videos on YouTube, which is a lot. And of course, we're a training company, so we've got lots of content in the areas we cover. Another big influence on me was a guy called Grant Cardone, another American. Grant is a very famous, hardcore sales guy. Very successful. And he makes this point. We are all invisible. But I just talk about know, like, trust. But if you're invisible, how do you build a business? People don't know you. And that's what he's on about. People don't know you. You've got to make a big effort to get out there and be known. So I took that on board and I said, okay, I've got to become more visible. Got to work on that. And so you think about social media as one of the big content marketing delivery mechanisms. We're trying to get attention. Where is the attention on social media? So are we where the buyer attention is found on social media? Are we where they're looking in social media? So where are they looking? In Japan, basically, YouTube kills everything, 102 million. Next is Line, of course. X, used to be called Twitter. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, very low numbers, 3 million. But if you're in the expat community, it'd be an incredibly high proportion of people on LinkedIn. And my personal main target are expat leaders, because I've got all these Japanese working for them who need training. If I can get to the expat leader, maybe I can get the whole company. So that's one of my targets.
One of the things that I've heard is that the Japanese people use Facebook like LinkedIn.
Yes, that's true.
Facebook is basically Japanese.
Yes, the comment was that Facebook is like LinkedIn for Japanese, and very, very true. And I post all my stuff on Facebook. I post on all of these things, except for Pinterest. I don't do Pinterest. And I can't work out how to do Line. So if I could work it out, I'd probably do something there, but I haven't worked it out yet. So we are trying to dominate our niches as a training company. Now, this gets a bit tricky because we have 3 separate curriculum areas, main curriculum areas. One is leadership, then we have presentation sales. That means if we're only doing leadership, that'd be one level of content we'd need to produce. We're not just doing leadership though. So we have to produce a lot of content to compete with others who specialize in leadership. We have to produce a lot of content to compete with people who just specialize in presentations. And the same for sales. So we are tripling what would be a normal company's requirement, which is why, Jeff, there's so much we're pumping out. That's the basis. So, and what do we do about AI? Because you think nowadays, oh, no problem, I just go into AI, produce this presentation for tonight. In 30 seconds, you've got it. How easy is this? Going to have some posts on LinkedIn, bingo, out comes the stuff from AI. We are redundant as content creators because AI will do it all for us. Well, maybe. So your rivals are using it, maybe you're using it, but then how can we differentiate our content? Here's some ideas. First of all, it doesn't know your stories. It hasn't been able to scrape those. Your personal stories, only you know those. You have 100% control of that. And when you write, LinkedIn, well, AI tends to, this stage anyway, tends to be a bit generic in the way that it creates content. And you look at the stuff, you get a couple of different feed outs and all sort of similar style. But if you write as you speak, write in the vernacular, that's very much you, very authentic you, very individual. And have your own point of view on a topic. AI will scrape all of the world's viewpoints on a topic, but you have your own individual viewpoint. That's unique. And then you must become highly skilled in presenting. Because you can get the best content out of AI, but you still got to stand up here and you've got to deliver it. And that's what AI at this point won't be doing. Maybe online with an avatar, but in the real world, no, can't do it. And then have your own personal style, which again, very hard to duplicate. So some of my differentiation approaches, I always use Dr. Greg Story. I have a PhD, and I use that distinctly because I'm in the training business. Do you want to be taught by somebody with just a basic degree? You want to be taught by Dr. Story, right? Of course you want to be taught by Dr. Story. So I use that as a differentiator through my education as branding. And I use a lot of alliteration when I write. Super sushi service. It's alliteration, right? I use that style for my writing. And I use words in unexpected ways, normal words, but in a little bit unexpected ways. So when you read it, you go, oh, that's a bit different, because it's me. You're going to find I will do that. Others won't do it. AI certainly won't do it. And I try to use some unusual words, right? Again, to differentiate, to have a style that's recognizable. I hope that when you see my stuff, you'll say, oh, that's written by Greg Story, as opposed to it could be written by anybody. And then try to include personal stories to connect with more. Now, I avoided that. I'm a very private person, Jeff. I don't share much. If you look publicly online, you find very little about me, personal. Find a lot of stuff about presentations, leadership, sales, not a lot about Greg's Story. It's out there, but a very small amount. But I finally broke through. As a presenter, I started sharing my personal information. I found I could connect with people in a way I wasn't able to connect so well before. And I broadcast as Jeff said, video, I broadcast audio. I try to use my own cadence, my own rhythm, right, when I'm highlighting key ideas and phrases, which again, is going to be very hard for AI to replicate that because it's my definition. For example, I've recorded one of my books, Japan Sales Mastery, which just about killed me, I've got to tell you. I can't believe how hard narrating your own damn book is. I didn't do any more after that, it exhausted me. But someone else could narrate it. But I wrote it, so I knew where to put the emphasis. I knew where to hit certain words and phrases, key ideas, and bring my energy to that point in the sentence. Very hard for AI to know how to do that. So these are things that differentiate. So we're going to tell some stories. Now, someone said to me tonight, oh, your name's Story. That's handy if you're going to be in the storytelling business. It wasn't planned. I think the name Story, someone can correct me here, but it's actually from originally a Scandinavian name, Story, which got anglicised in the great Viking invasion of England, I believe, in the 8th century. So there we go. So we have the warning story, we can write about that. Bad things are coming. We can have the success story, hey, we did well. We can have a humorous story, something amusing. We can have a branding story, talking about your company and how great you're doing, and how you're helping save the world, etc. And then you can have a story with a lesson, a parable, something that you've learned, something happened, you've learned a lesson from that, and you share that lesson. So these are some typical storytelling themes we can use when we're putting together our content. Then we have the narrative arc. There'll be certain characters in the story. So include the people in the story. Include the names. Even if you've got to have a code name for someone, include the names. Right? I had a meeting with the president. I had a meeting with Suzuki Taro, the president. Much better. There's going to be a context. Something's happening in the background. Something's going on. What is it? Bring out that background. There'll be some conflict, some problem, or a big opportunity. What is that? Set the context with the opportunity. Then there's going to be a resolution. Could be good, could be bad, but there'll be a resolution one way or another. And then what's your message? What's the learning? What's the thing you want to get across to people? So that's an arc in the narrative when you're writing your stories, you're putting stuff together to think about. So my copywriting structure looks like this. I try to make the client the hero. I'm the guide. The villain, the client's problem. The plan, let's get rid of the villain, right? Let's fix that problem. Then, this is important, the opportunity cost of no action, because in a lot of cases people think no action means no cost. That's not true. There's an opportunity cost there. And then finally, the resolution, the happy outcome. We talk about that. So we need, I believe, to master video and audio and text in this modern age. But we've got some self-limiting beliefs. I'm not beautiful enough or handsome enough to appear on video. My voice sounds terrible. I'm not photogenic. I hate being recorded on camera. I'm an introvert. Now, I'm not handsome. I've got a very raspy voice from 10 million kiais in the karate dojo, actually. I'm not photogenic at all. I always look terrible in photographs. I used to be scared of the camera, but I've managed to get over that. And I am an introvert, actually. So this is very taxing for me tonight to have all these people in the room with me. I'll have to go home later and lay down for quite a long time to recover. But we have these self-limiting beliefs. The point is we've got to get over those. If we're going to project ourselves into the market and be credible with clients before we meet them, they've got to know us. We've got to get out there. So let's work on that. So this is multi-purposing of content. So I start, in my case, always with a blog text. My Saturday mornings are writing every week. Saturday morning I write. I write one on presentations, I write one on sales, and I write one on leadership. And then I'll record those for my podcast. So that text gets turned into podcast audio. In this room, we put a green screen there. We set up the camera here, and I will record myself on green screen video. There's a teleprompter behind here, and I'll be reading the teleprompter of what I've written, and I'll take that text and I'll turn it into video. That audio will go to, the podcast will go to a place called Libsyn, Liberated Syndication, which hosts podcasts. And not Apple Podcasts, but not only Apple Podcasts. It's got a huge list of different podcasts they get my content out to. That's what all those little green arrows mean. But it also turns up on my YouTube channel as audio. It would automatically seed to my YouTube channel with the audio podcast. And also the podcast video goes to YouTube. So I can multi-purpose my one piece of content very, very effectively. So who are we according to, what does Google say about you? Who are you when you look up Google? What do you find? Yahoo, etc. Bing, ChatGPT, YouTube, Amazon. If you search yourself on these items, what does it tell us about you? Who are you? I'm possibly going to be your client. I want to know about you. This is where I'm going to look. This is where I'll go. And what will I find? Now, a lot of Americans said to me that they can't use Facebook for business because there's a lot of embarrassing frat house photographs of them in very compromising positions, drinking very exotic looking drinks with umbrellas in them in very bad locations with very dodgy people. So they are excluded. But as I said, I was terrified of social media. I came late to the party. What you'll see on these mediums is me in business all the time. You're not going to see me casual very often. I control it. So if you look up Greg's story, there are 71 entries on Google, 44 on YouTube, Yahoo I should say, 91 on Bing. I stopped at page 10. ChatGPT, 1 entry. I did a presentation last December for the American Chamber Sales Committee. And at that time, I wasn't even existing on ChatGPT. So finally I made it, I'm there. And it's actually correct. It wasn't hallucinating, I'm actually there. And then YouTube, there are 50 entries. I stopped at 50, there's a lot more. And then Amazon, 1 entry. What's going on here? I've got, 7 books already published, and the 8th one is with Amazon right now. So Amazon's search engine is not very good. So anyway, I don't know how that works. So what has been useful for me to become known and credible with my potential buyers? So LinkedIn is my main medium for business. And this is what my front page looks like. And you see there's lots of me in action. I'm running a soft skills training company. So what am I doing? I'm teaching or I'm speaking, naturally. And then here I am. My name is not Dr. Greg Story. The name in LinkedIn is Dr. Greg Story, bracket, franchise owner, master trainer, executive coach, in a bracket, leadership, sales, presentations, Tokyo, Japan. That is what's in my name bracket on LinkedIn, not just Dr. Greg Story. And then it talks about global master trainer, executive coach, 3-time best-selling author, global business expert, leadership, sales, presentations, and communication, president, Dale Carnegie, Tokyo. There's a lot of propaganda about me on that one page. And then you have all of my postings that come after that. Massive numbers of them. In this case, on LinkedIn, 3,350 of them, right? And then, as I said, 27,680 followers. Post impressions, 7,032 the last 7 days. The last 90 days, 764 people looked at my profile. 817 people searched for me. How many people are searching for you? You go to your LinkedIn, have a look at your number. How many people are searching for you? When I see that number's high, I'm happy. It says that what I'm doing is working. They're searching for me. I'm trying to find them, of course, but they're looking for me. I may not know who they are, but I'm giving them what I want them to find. I'm packaging it up. I'm saying, this is me. I'm credible. I can do everything you want on leadership, everything you want on sales, and presentations. I've got it. That's what I'm saying. So Roberto De Vito was the editor of the American Chamber Journal. And I used to submit articles to the journal. And I made a big mistake. When I first submitted them, I thought, you got Dale Carnegie on the wall over there. I thought, well, Dale Carnegie, he's the icon. Can't compete with the icon. So I never put my name and photograph with the articles, only my name. Until one day I was at an event, I gave someone my card. Are you the guy that writes those articles in the American Chamber Journal? I said, yeah. I realized, you idiot. You should have put your face and name so people could recognize both instead of just the name. Trust me, my face and name is on everything I can find now to catch up. But I bumped into Roberto across the road in front of the Arc Hills building one day, just by accident. We're having a quick chat because he's editing my articles, I'm putting them up there. He said, Greg, why don't you start a podcast? Here's my response. What's a podcast? I'd sort of heard of it. In the 1990s, there were podcasts, and they sort of disappeared. And they came back in the mid-2000s, right? 2013 or so. And I thought, wow, podcast, okay. So I'll take that on board. So this was a recreation, but this would have been me back in 2013, 14 actually, with this exact mic, recording my podcast. I had zero idea what it was. I was clueless. I didn't even think about the mic, I didn't about the quality. But now, for the techie people here, and I'm sure there's a lot of techie people here, so I said, right, I use a Shure SM58 microphone. I use a Zoom H6 handy recorder, which actually is recording this presentation right now. I use Adobe Audition for the editing, and I use Libsyn to host my Apple podcast. So that's some of the tech. Now, I won't go into what we do for the videos. There's a lot of lighting and camera and stuff for that, but we do a lot of gear for all that stuff. So I'm better organized now. So what did I learn about podcasting? First of all, don't be an idiot like me. Spend the money and get a good quality microphone. Straight up. Don't muck around. Get the right gear. Find a platform which you can upload your content to multiple areas, like Libsyn. You need something like that. If you're going to do interviews, the guest provides the IP. Jeff has been a guest on my podcast, Japan's top business interviews, and he provided all the IP. But if you're doing it yourself, then you need to have content. And I have a lot of content, as I'll talk about in a minute, because I can do that because we're in the business of doing training. So we know about leadership, presentation, sales, etc., communication. And you've got to be like clockwork. We say weekly, it's got to be weekly. You can't miss. And if you're going to do it, commit to it. There are so many podcasts which fail within the first 10 episodes and they quit. Don't be one of those people. If you're going to commit to do it, keep going with it. Don't worry about the numbers. Keep going with it. You'll eventually get the numbers you want. So this is my first podcast, August the 2nd, 2014. Every Thursday, Leadership Japan series. This is where I started. So now we've got nearly 74,599 downloads, right? 559 episodes weekly, right? That's 559 episodes weekly. So you get an idea. Now, in 2016, I'm following all this content marketing. The guru says, niche down. Right. But get steady to ride the tiger's back. Because what I thought was, okay, niche down, I'm going to break out. The Leadership Japan series had content about sales. It had content about presenting. I know, I'll break them out and separate them. I'll niche down. How hard could that be? I said to myself. Well, once you jump onto the tiger's back, as soon as you jump off, you get eaten. So you've got to be careful what you do here. So I started with one, and then I presented this one. This is in number 4. This is November 3rd, 2016. Every Tuesday, this has got 23,952 downloads. We're up to episode 385 on this one. And then I did this one, which was the Sales Japan series. It's every Wednesday, 31,367 downloads, 385 episodes. But the work to produce these additional 2 was much bigger than I expected. But remember, we are a training company. We are doing all of these areas, so we have to have content in each of these areas to compete with companies who only do sales, only do leadership, only do presentations. So we just triple our workload immediately, and we've got to be prepared for that. Now, 2018, Google said, we are going to now do voice-based search as well as text. And I believed them. And I thought, bingo, because how many blogs were there in the world in 2018? Major number of blogs around the world. How can you compete with so many billions of people producing blogs? And I thought, audio. I have a lot of audio. Maybe I can win in the audio market that's hard to win in the text market. So I got a great idea. Why don't I create more audio? I said to myself, and try and dominate that voice-based search. Well, guess what? You Google Greg Story, you're not going to find much in the vocal department from Google. Thank you very much. Where's my voice-based search, Google? Still not there. So anyway, but I didn't know that. I believed them. So I was inspired by, some people might remember the show Tokyo on Fire from Tim Langley. It was a very good program on politics. I was inspired by this. I said, you know what? I'm going to create something on business. He's doing a great job in politics. I'm going to do something on business, because there was no business shows at that time. So I created the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, right? And so far, it's every Monday. We've got 8,747 downloads, 313 episodes, right? And it's video and it's audio, right? So I'm doing both. This is that diagram before. I record it on video and we strip out the audio track and that becomes a podcast, right? So multiple use. Now, another marketing guru, content marketing guru, said, you know what? Concentration spans, very short now. You've got to produce shorter content, and got to offer both long and short. So I thought, I know. I'll take the content I've got that's maybe 800 to 1,000 words, and I'll make it 300 words. I'll rewrite it. I'll strip out and just have the really core stuff. So I started Japan Business Mastery. And this is every Friday. We've got 7,793 downloads, 213 episodes. Where's my voice search result? I don't see it. So in 2020, I wasn't doing guest interviews. I was recording all my own content, my own point of view. But most people are doing podcasting are guests. And I looked around. This is pre-COVID, by the way. This is pre-COVID. And I thought, actually, I know everybody. I know all these CEOs here. I'm really well connected. I know everybody. Bingo. I'll start a guest podcast. So I started this one, which Jeff has been on, Japan's top business interviews, right? And we are 27,469 downloads, 202 episodes every Saturday. Tomorrow, you will see the next episode, which I will load up tonight when I get home, right? So they'll see you there tomorrow. And this, again, the IP is being produced by my guests. Right? And I'm just the facilitator. And I actually don't say much. You know, if you listen to the one with Jeff, and it's a great interview, and you should listen to the one with Jeff, he does 90% of the talking. I hardly say anything. So if you don't have a lot of content, this is one way to do it. Find out more. We come back from the break. Our show today is brought to you by our public courses, but we also do custom in-house programs. We do them in Japanese, we do them in English, we do them in our super safe classroom, and we do them live online. Our show today is being brought to you by, on the 24th of August, we'll have our Dale Carnegie course, 12-week version. And on the 12th and 13th of September, we'll have our High Impact Presentations program. And on the 13th of September, we'll start another 12-week-long Dale Carnegie course. Our website is www.dale-carnegie.co.jp. Email me at greg.story@dalecarnegie.com. If you like learning by watching videos, then we have over 2,300 there for you at Tokyo, Japan, Dale Carnegie TV on YouTube. We release 3 shows every week on YouTube. The Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, that's the premier business show on Japan, every Monday Tokyo time. Fridays we have the Japan Business Mastery Show, and on Saturdays we release Japan's top business interviews, where I interview leaders from SMEs right up to the corporate captains of industry on one topic, leading in Japan. Now, every second Thursday we release the Business Pro television show. Don't forget to grab my business best-selling books on Japan on Amazon. Japan Sales Mastery, which is Saegyo in Japanese, Japan Business Mastery, and Japan Presentations Mastery, or in Japanese, Anata mo Presen no Tachijin. My other books include Stop Wasting Money on Training, which in Japanese is Training de Okane o Muri Suru wa Yamemashou. And my just released new book is Japan Leadership Mastery. And all are available on Amazon. So, hang on a minute, all this stuff is in English. Wait a minute, we're in Japan. Don't you have any Japan content? So what we do is we take the English originals, we translate them, then my sales staff, talent, they take that and they rework it into their language, their way of speaking for themselves. And we do it fortnightly for them, not weekly, because they've got to sell. They're busy. I can't overload them. I can't blow them up. So for them, we do it fortnightly. So we have one, which is the Business Touches in the Oshia podcast. This has been the #1 ranked podcast in Japan for business at different times. 85,844 downloads, phenomenal. We only started in 2020. And 80 episodes. Now, unfortunately, my talent stopped recording for a while. Missed a little period there. She got busy. And I had to sort of get her back in the saddle. And she lost audience immediately as she stopped. You could see the audience numbers went straight down because it wasn't predictable, wasn't regular, wasn't consistent. So as I say, if you're going to do it like clockwork. Otherwise you'll suffer and your leadership will suffer. Your followers will disappear. So we do another one. This is every second Thursday, the Business Pro Terabi, which is also a podcast. The audio gets stripped out, becomes a podcast. 9,145 downloads, 101 episodes, more episodes, and way short on the numbers of downloads. I don't know why. One is a woman, the first one, and one is a man, young man in his 30s. Not working as well as the other one. But okay, we do video and audio, we go with it. Now, the object is drive everybody to our website. They get to our website, they've got, okay, we've got thought leadership pieces, we can get the ebooks, we can watch the TV shows, we can listen to the podcasts, we can get the white papers, we can access the books. This is all funnel to bring people to our website so we can interact with them and hopefully turn them from prospects into clients. Okay? So we self-publish our books. Why do we do that? Well, it just gives you more control. I don't have to debate with anybody about what's on the cover. I don't have to discuss with anybody what's in the content. I choose. I like that. I like that power. Now, publishers, they want bucks. They need bigger readership. They need more sales to justify publishing. And they make you do all the promotion anyway. You may as well do it yourself. And then we're not trying to make money from books. We're not in the book sales business. We sell them, but we're not trying to sell books. I'm trying to sell training. Every time I go to a client, guess what? I'm bringing books. Here's our book on presentations. Here's our book on sales. And as I said, my new book on leadership is out probably tonight or tomorrow morning on Amazon, and I'll be taking that one with me. We get a physical copy. So we are trying to sell training, not sell books. That's why publishers are not interested. So if you're targeting a niche of a niche, it's difficult. They have to have an interest in leadership and Japan. Have an interest in sales and Japan. Presentations and Japan. That's a pretty small niche if you're going to try and sell books. But guess what? That's where we live. We do leadership training, presentations training, sales training. That's where we make our money. It makes sense for me to concentrate there and produce books there, which is what we're doing. Now, how to write a book in 1 year? No problem. You start a blog, 800,000 word blog, every week. That's 50,000 words in a year. That's enough for a book. More than enough for a book. You harvest the best of your blogs for the book. You find that there's certain topics become sections of the book. Then you've got to get the flow, get it to flow like a detective novel. So each one flows into the next. That's pretty hard. And then, well, what you wrote might have been 800 words. Maybe it's got to be 1,500 words. Or maybe that chapter's got to be 2,000 words. You've got to expand it out. Maybe you couldn't say everything you want to say. You want to add more to it. Because now you've got a book, you've got the opportunity of doing that. And then finally, if you've got additional chapters that's missing, write them. In my book on leadership, I realized, oh, I don't have any stuff here on how to handle conflict. So I had to go and write 2 chapters on handling conflict in the workplace. So this is how you write a book in a year. And that's how I've written all my books. Those blogs you saw me talking about before are the chapters of my books. All of them. Okay, that's how it works for me. So here's some of the books. First one, Japan Sales Mastery. This is the first book in 30 years on selling in Japan. Because Japan sort of went off the radar for a while after the bubble burst, and everyone's go, China, China, not Japan. So I wrote this book, first book in 30 years. Then we translated it to Zaegyo. And my designer, genius, he found a yen mark inside that gyo. Incredible. I never saw it, but he saw it. I thought, that's genius, great. Zaegyo. And then I wrote this book on Japan Business Mastery. When I was doing my research on the Sales Japan series, I realized, same problem. If you look on stuff for how to do business in Japan, it's, Meiji Exchange, and it's old. It's all out of date. It's really old. There's nothing new there. I said, right, there's an opportunity. I didn't plan to write this book. I said, but there's a gap in the market. I'm going to fill it. 36 chapters. Not a long book, but it goes through everything. For people who don't know business Japan, this is perfect. Then I wrote this one, Japan Presentations Mastery, because we teach presentations and we want to get more business. So we wrote this, and then we did Anatta mo Presen no Tachijin. We translated it. All right, so we have a Japanese version. I rewrite the books for a Japanese audience. I write it for a foreign audience first, for the expat shacho, CEO, who's going to buy training, and then I rewrite it for a Japanese audience. Same here. Then I wrote this book, Stop Wasting Money on Training. I think that's a bit counterintuitive for a training company. Subtitle, How to Get the Best Results from Your Training Budget in Japan. Because I realized you couldn't find any books on how to pick a training company. We are experts in training. So I wrote a book, a neutral book. It's not a propaganda piece for Dale Carnegie. If you read it, it's not like that at all. It's very, very neutral, very objective. But it talks about the things you need to think about. When I go to see the client, I got 2 books. This is one of them. Now there's going to be presentation, sales, and very shortly leadership. And I give them both. Do I care if they read them? No. This says we are experts on training. That's enough for credibility. Okay? Then the Japanese title, Training de Okane o Muni Sunu wa Yamimashou. Right, Japanese title. This is my new book. I say we're waiting for Amazon to give us the thumbs up. Could be tonight, could be tomorrow morning. It's that close. I have never seen any books in English about leading in Japan that are written by foreigners. If you can find one, let me know. I couldn't find any. I believe this is the first book ever written on this topic. And the target audience are expat CEOs who are leading here to help them, because these are the people who pay for our training, who have the decision-making power, or at least get me in front of the HR team to try and convince them to take us on as a training company. So very, very fresh. Very, very fresh. And I call it Your Complete Leadership Toolkit. And it is a very complete book. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, soon to be 7 books, right? Coming up to be 7 books. And then I will rewrite that leadership book for a Japanese audience, and we'll translate that. And that'll be number 8. So everyone's heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, I presume. He's a legend. He's an amazing business person, incredible entrepreneur. He really pioneered interesting things. He took reality TV, he combined it with motivation, and he combined it with education. And he has another trading name is Gary V. And he had a guy follow him around, videoing him all day long, which they cut up and brought out. He's unbelievable volume producer. But Gary V, or Gary Vaynerchuk, has 30 people working in Team Gary, chopping all this stuff up. He's a legend. He says, I heard this recently, you got to post 12 times a day. I'm like, that's ridiculous. How could you do that? Well, guess what? I'm posting 12 times a day. I count them up. The blog goes to LinkedIn. It automatically goes to Facebook and Twitter. Now, purists would say, you're a very bad boy. Greg, you should be recrafting that for Facebook. And you should be recrafting that for Twitter instead of sending them the same stuff. Hey, do I have that sort of time? No. I've got 3 areas, presentation, sales, and leadership to cover. I'm busy. So I just flick and switch and bingo, it's there, done. I upload something I'll talk about in a moment called Whare Bera Whigira. I'll talk about that. It goes to, actually I forgot to put, goes to LinkedIn. I share it also to Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I upload video shorts to LinkedIn. Then they get switched over to TikTok, Threads, and Instagram, which is actually 12 a day. So I'm actually doing what Gary Vaynerchuk said to do. I thought it was impossible, but I'm actually doing it. Amazed me. So we need a mindset shift here. We need to be agnostic about the funnel that brings the client to us. But we've got to brace for trouble. We're doing something new, but we should try it anyway. And if it doesn't work, well, retreat if you have to. And don't say no for the buyer in terms of trying something new. And if it works, go all in and ignore the critics and haters. So this is something that I was thinking about. There are some fundamental business truths. People judge us when they first meet us on our body language, how we're standing, how we move. The second thing they judge us on is how we're dressed. They look us up and down. They're checking us out. They're making judgments. We haven't even opened our mouth yet. But they're making judgments, first impressions about us. So we have to control that first impression. And we must become more knowledgeable about image control in business. So I had some innovation considerations. I found people often complimented me about the way I'm dressed. And I thought, can I drive that as a differentiator against my competitors in the training industry? Can I take that and drive it harder? I didn't see any businessmen blogging about what they wear, except for people who are in the clothing business. They got their own boutiques or whatever. I didn't see any business people blogging, men. So I needed to execute, though, in a very light, low-touch manner, because I'm pretty busy. And I have to have the guts, right, to court trolls, mockery, derision, abuse, and hatred by putting myself out there. And I was scared to do it. I thought, if I put out what I'm wearing, man, I'm going to get hammered by these people. I'm just going to be abused all day long. So I took a deep breath. I said, okay, I'll go for it. Here's my premise. And every one of my blogs starts like this. I run my own soft skills training franchise business here in Tokyo. And many years ago, I decided to dress for success. Each day I consult my schedule, and that day's work content drives my sartorial choices. Before I head out the door every day, I check myself in the mirror and ask, do I look like one of the most professional people in my industry? That's the premise. Okay? Then this comes up. This is the fare bella figura. In Italian, it means make a good impression. I use Italian because I think it's pretty cool. Sounds better. Bella figura. Sounds pretty good in Italian, right? So, master your first impressions. Be a sharp-dressed man. Now, which is the band we know about being a sharp-dressed man? ZZ Top. You know that song, Be a Sharp-Dressed Man. I thought, that's pretty cool. I'll use that. So I put in Be a Sharp-Dressed Man. Now, this is what they get. I put in very detailed content on what I'm wearing. You can see all the stuff on LinkedIn. This is just, I'm just showing you as like wallpaper. And I have a photograph of me, but guess what's in the background? 1912, Dale Carnegie. I'm taking it right here. So I'm promoting the company and the longevity of the company at the same time I'm promoting what I'm wearing, right? So I'm getting a double there. So now here's the distressing part. Here's the results. My handcrafted, really carefully written blogs, which I really work hard on every Saturday morning and come up with these 800,000 word pieces, and I get 200 impressions on LinkedIn. The first fare bella figura one I put up, 1,600 impressions. I felt like crying. I couldn't believe it. I just show me in a suit and I get 1,600, and I'm writing all this stuff on leadership and presentations and sales. I get 200. And it continues to outrank my other blogs, still. So at the end of my blogs, there's a sales funnel. There are 3 lead magnets, and then a description about my podcasts and my books and about me, and all the propaganda is there. Guess what? On the end of all these fare bella figura posts, that same propaganda is there. It's there. It's a funnel to get people to come to our website through these lead magnets. So here's some takeaways. Observe trends. I've noticed, and this audience is not very good representation of that, but suits are coming back for men. Suits are coming back for men. Ties are going to come back for men. Shoes, the whole like serious shoes, not sneakers. It's coming. Check me in 5 years. See if I'm right. But I feel it's moving in that direction. I might be an early mover, maybe in this trend. I don't know. I might be totally wrong. Let's see. There's a gap in the market. No men are putting themselves out there talking about what they wear every workday. I do it, I'm goofing off a bit here. I only do it 5 days a week. I only do Monday to Friday when I'm at work, right? So what's my point of view and experience here? I've got to embrace that. Some new ways to engage an audience, okay? How do I differentiate myself from my rivals? Try something new and stop if it doesn't work. So these are some ideas for you on how to control your image, your message, your content to hook into the client's mindset before they meet you. So you're crafting their expectations about who you are and what they can do with you before you even meet them. Now, I don't know everything about digital marketing. This is only what I've done myself, and I'm sure there are many things I can improve which I don't even know about. So if you see something tonight and you say, what are you doing, you idiot? You should be using this and you should be doing that, and don't you know about this? Tell me, because I'm still educating myself about this stuff. I'm a boomer, but in here I'm still 19. So with that, I'd like to invite you. Who has the first question? Thank you. Please, we've got a question over here. Go right ahead. The question is, casual dress casual attitudes, casual behavior, casual culture is becoming more widespread. In our training, do we work on professional vocabulary for people? The short answer is we do not address that specifically because we teach presentation skills. You might be in a very casual industry. You might be in the tech business. You might be wearing chinos all the time and t-shirts. You might be wearing cargo shorts. But we help you to be more persuasive. We help you how to engage your audience. We do that part. Now, if your language needs to be professional for your field, we expect you to bring that professional language with you. We'll help you deliver it better, but we don't know enough about your industry to know the professional language, to have the acronyms, and to have this Semon Yoga, right, the specialty language, because we are covering every possible industry you could imagine. But we will help you to speak better, because often we mumble. Let me stop you doing that. Or we don't speak loud enough so people can't actually hear what we're saying. We help you with that. And I have monotone. I would like to tell you about our product. You know? We help you with that. And they don't engage their audience because they're looking over here, or they're looking down here, or they're looking over here. We do all that stuff, in short answer to your question. Where's the next question? So the question was about saturation. The question was about download intensity and the effects of that. I think if we only taught one thing, if we were just a sales shop or a presentation shop or a leadership shop, I wouldn't be doing all this volume. But as I mentioned earlier, we're doing all three, plus communications, plus DEI as well. I didn't even get to those. But we're not addressing those as podcasts yet. So what I found was, I said before, we need to dominate our niche. When you come on to LinkedIn, you're not going to see my competitors' stuff like you'll see our stuff. So we're sort of caught up in, because we are covering a broad range of things, we have to support it with content. And I often think about that too. Would I be better to spread myself less thin and go more hard on just one thing? And I think if I only had one area of curriculum, I'd probably do that. But because we have three, you know, we've got to beat the people who just specialize in sales and specialize in presentations and specialize in leadership and blow them out of the water. So it's a hard row to hoe for us, but that's why we think like that. We've got to go for that. And I often think that, posting every day. See, Saturday, 3 blogs, 3 podcasts, then they get repurposed. They get repurposed and get repurposed and repurposed. So it gives me the capacity to do 6 days a week. 6 days a week. Like yesterday, I interviewed Emma Dean. She's a fellow Aussie. She's running British American Tobacco here. You know, and I'm interviewing, because I meet the CEOs. I'm out there looking for people who can buy my training. I'm in the places where they are. I'm going to the events they attend. I'm hitting them up. Please come on my podcast and talk about leading in Japan. I'm relentless, as Jeff will let you know. And I don't say no, or don't take no easily. I follow up. I make sure. Because that gives me access to them. It also gives me fantastic content. And you might think, oh, 202 episodes, leading in Japan. They must have said everything about leading in Japan. But they're all individuals. They're all in different industries. They're all different companies. They're coming from different countries. They've got different problems. They've got different insights, different experiences. It's very fresh every time. Where's the next question? Actually, Dan, you had a question over there. Sorry, go ahead. So the question is, how do you get more, for example, if the measure is impressions, how do you get more impressions? Maybe more consistency, because sometimes you post something, gets very little impact. You post something else, gets massive impact. You can't work out the logic. It's very hard. I posted the other day about sardonic humor, sarcasm, and irony in sales in Japan. That post blew up. Blew up. But I'll post other stuff and it doesn't blow up. And I sometimes think, hey, I got a really good title here. This is going to work. Goes nowhere. And something else I don't think is going to work, it works. I have no answer to you on why it works like that. But one thing I do know, though, is, and this is hard for me as an introvert and a private person, is to put more of me out there at the personal level. You posted about your career or not career change, your career promotion and your incredible title that you've got for your company, which I commented, like, this is like a gold medal winning job title, incredible. And a lot of people did that. So I think this is the personal aspect. And I was scared. I was scared to put me, the person, into the content. But when I got over that, I tend to notice, and this is why the Fare Bella Fugita is it's not about Dale Carnegie. It's about me, you know, and it gets traction. So sometimes I'm confused too. How can I be working like this? And as I say, sometimes I craft like, leave. I have the title. This is going to really rock them. Doesn't rock them. Something else rocks them. I can't work it out. So I don't have a good answer for you. But what I think is, if you cast the net wide enough, you're going to catch some fish. So I try, again, we're doing a massive volume thing because we're doing leadership, presentation, sales, but I try to have enough volume that I'm going to get some traction somewhere. And I guess over time, it's also, you just keep stacking it. Just keep stacking it up and up and up. If you please go to my LinkedIn, find me a Dr. Greg Story on LinkedIn and just scroll down. Just scroll down and have a look what's there. You know, you'll see a massive amount of material, which again, if someone's checking me out, does this guy know anything about training? 5 minutes on LinkedIn, they know this guy's an expert. That's the message I want. Don't use some dodgy training company. Come to Dale Carnegie, come to me. That's the message I'm trying to get. I think you had a question. So the question is about budgets for training in companies. Very good question. The training budgets basically disappeared during COVID. The Geishike companies, the multinational companies, they kept going. We did it online. The Nikkei companies, Japanese domestic companies, they just did nothing. They said, no. The training must be face-to-face. We said, fine. Oh, no. We're going to get COVID, corona. We go to your training company. We don't want to go. Well, hang on a minute. You still want to face-to-face? Yeah, we don't want to do it. Well, we can do it online. No, it's got to be face-to-face. This sort of stuff kills you, right, in business. And I said, okay, thank you. And some of those companies have not started again. It's, you know, the training industry has been brutalized. We've been brutalized. We're nowhere even close to where we were pre-COVID. Those budgets are not opened up yet, but I think they will. 8th of May last year, the Japanese government said, the flu, COVID, we put them on the same level now. We treat them the same way. So I was thinking, bingo, we're going to get a spike of training, like all my colleagues in different countries in Dale Carnegie around the world got a spike after COVID, and we're going to get this big uptake and catch up to where we were. Still waiting for the spike. Where's my spike? It will get there, but Japan, of course. I don't have to tell anybody in this room who's lived in Japan for a little while that Japan takes time. There was somebody else had a question over here. Yes, please, go ahead. So the question is, what is the most common deficit we see in training needs? Well, that depends. If it's leadership, most Japanese managers are not trained. They certainly don't get leadership training. They get management training, which is on time, on budget, on quality. That's important. But where's the setting the direction, communicating the direction, building the people? That part they don't know. In the 1980s, the WAPRO, right, the computer for work arrived for all of us, including Japan. And prior to that, there were pools of secretaries who were doing all the typing. And then in the 1990s, we got the internet and you got email. So leaders in Japan, now bosses have to do their own email and do their own typing. And the secretaries are not doing it for them. Well, guess what that does to their time? It blows it up. So the idea that these Japanese leaders will coach and develop the younger people coming up is disappeared because they just don't have the time. So the people who are leaders today, we've gone through generation after generation of no coaching. Prior to the WAPRO, prior to computers being common, yes, there was a lot of coaching going on because they had time. But since the 80s, that time has dried up. And here we are, 2024, 40 years later, that whole on-the-job training has collapsed. It is not working. So when we get them in the classes for leadership, they don't know much. They've cobbled together a few things themselves. They've tried a bit of trial and error, but they have no structure. They have parts of the puzzle, but they don't have the whole. If it's sales, they don't ask questions. They don't ask questions because the buyer is God. God does not brook any questions from lowly salespeople. So they pitch. But how on earth do you pitch if you don't know what they need? They don't ask questions. And they don't deal well with objections. Your price is too high. Oh, I'll drop my price by 20%. That's the Japanese salesperson's typical answer. So they're not trained for sales either. And when it comes to presentation skills, they're horrible because they're not trained for that. If you go to Keio University, okay, if you go to Keio University, they have the Enzetsu-kan, still there, wooden building called the Enzetsu-kan. It was a specific building built for giving speeches because in Meiji, that was a new thing. Up until Meiji, no one's giving speeches. The shogun's not out there on the balcony, Minasama! No, it's not happening. But where do we trace our Western roots back to? Greece, Rome. We've had oratory, the science of communication, for centuries. It's deep in our culture. We respect it. In Japan, it's not deep in the culture. It's a new thing. So they don't have the training, and they don't get it at school. They don't get it at university very well. And they get to companies, and they've suddenly got to lead people, and they don't know how to talk. So this is the deficits are in these three main areas as far as our observation goes. I mean, there's many more, but I'll stop there. Who has the final question? I can see Jeff on the corner of his chair here. We'll do two. We'll do Kayla, and then we'll do you. So go ahead, Kayla. The question is, how do I maintain the quality of the produce, the stuff I produce, I should say, and how do I not become repetitive? Well, we have a massive curriculum in Dale Carnegie. We're bringing global best practice to Japan. So we got lots of stuff. So I'll get the training manual, and I'll go through it, and I'll go, oh, that's good. And I'll take that idea, then I'll write it myself. That's one, right? And the other one is I'll observe things. If I go to a talk, I'll observe the speaker. If I see they're doing something well, I can write about that. If I see they're not doing so well, I can write about that. Things happen at work in terms of leadership experiences. I'll write about that. In sales, I'm a salesperson. I'm out selling every day as a salesperson. So things happen there too. So I'm looking around in my world, things I can bring in. Plus I'm looking in the media. There was a thing on Baidu the other day, if you read that, about Miss Hu Jing, who was the head of PR, vice president of Baidu, who was harassing, bullying, about her own people. She put it on YouTube, mind you. It went viral. She just got hammered and she was gone the next day. So I wrote about that. So I'm looking for things that stimulate audiences, right? I'm looking for things that stimulate audiences. And honestly, Kayla, sometimes I sit there and I'm like, I've written, 559 articles on leadership. What more is there to say about leadership? But then something will occur to me. I'll get a theme. I'm what they call a discovery writer, right? I'm not a person who's a structure. Oh, I'm going to sit down and structure. There'll be a template for my writing. No, it's all for me. It's coming. It's just I'll start. In fact, often happens. I'll have a theme. I'll start writing, and then I take it off in a different direction. I don't know why that happens, but it happens. So it doesn't matter. I'll start one place and I'll move into another because I'm a discovery writer. And the quality, well, I don't know, Kayla, because I honestly put my heart and soul, I put my intellect, I do my best on every piece. And these days, I run it through a thing called piece of AI called, what's it called now? Writing Pro or something, I forget the name of it. But I put it through that for punctuation, grammar, things that I'm not noticing, just to pick those up. So that's an aid to me, but it doesn't write it for me, I write it. And sometimes it's wrong, I have to ignore it, but Pro Writing Aid, it's called, Pro Writing Aid, I use that. But I try to have my voice. I try to use words in different ways. I try to use unusual words. I try to have alliteration. I try to have something in a style. I want you to read my stuff and say, Greg Story wrote that, is my aim, that I can differentiate what I write. That's my objective. And I think we have the last question from Singapore via Shanghai. Is it Shanghai? Singapore via Shanghai, and thank you very much. So the question is, he has some friends who he's encouraging to do video shows, but they're unsure of what content, what they could actually cover, what would be their niche, what do they do about content? The answer I would say to you is this: what do they know about? What do they have experience with? How can they bring their individual experience insights to that topic? Because it may be very unique what they've done. Other people may not have that insight, may not have that experience. So it's hard to judge that. But if it's not out there, you can't judge it. Now, if it doesn't work, well, you just stop. No one's going to ring you up and say, hey, you stop doing it. No one says that. You just disappear. Like I listen to Small Business, Big Marketing by Timbo Reid, who's an Aussie, who's been doing this podcast forever. In December, he did the last podcast and then nothing. He always takes a break at the end of the year. Here we are in May. He hasn't picked it up. I think he's given up. I think he's stopped. I don't know why. Maybe he's sustaining it financially, psychologically, whatever. What can I do about it? If they want to disappear, they can disappear. But find something that's of interest to them. Like, did I know that I knew that much about men's clothing till I started this blog? No. Then I discovered, actually, I know quite a bit, and I could write about it. So they may have things they know about, they can talk about. And there'll be other people who are interested in that topic. Now, it's going to be a niche. That's okay. If you want to sell books, write a crime thriller. Write romance. You'll do much better. But if you want to do presentation, sales, and leadership, it's a niche. You're not going to sell much. You're not going to get many people to buy it. But you can dominate that space. So they can dominate their area for that micro area. And for people who are interested in that or appreciate that, they'll have a lot of engagement. They'll have a lot of impact. So my takeaway message for you is, in this modern world, people know they're going to meet you or they hear about you. They're going to check you out. And the tools to check you out are getting better and better. What are they going to find about you? Are you in control of the message? Are you in control of the image? Are you putting out what you want them to know about? We can control that, but we have to take action. Good luck, everyone. Thank you very much. Did you get value from today's show? If you did, then share the love around with your family, friends, and colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. Until the next episode, go out there and apply the learnings from today and become a presentations legend amongst your circle. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week. Remember, I'm in your corner, your go-to guy for soft skills training in Tokyo, committed to your success here in Nippon.